Welcome back to another edition of the Flow Video Podcast. We are so excited. I somehow tricked both Ken and Lori to hang out with me here today. And it is a special episode because we are joining hundreds of other podcasters this week in recording episodes as part of Podcasthon, which is kind of tricky to say, but a really incredible cause. So podcasters from all over the world are joining together to help raise up and feature some incredible charities. And we are hanging out with Ken and Lori today to talk all about Code and Circuit. So as our incredible moderator, Paul, dropped in the comments, we're actually not going to ask Ken any eCam questions today. We're only going to talk about Code and Circuit, or, the usual podcasting stuff, but really excited for everyone to be here. We have our live studio audience hanging out with us. So if you have any questions about Code and Circuit or about Podcasthon, feel free to drop those into the comments. We'll make sure that we feature those and ask them. But let's jump right in. Welcome, Ken. Welcome, Lori.
Thank you.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good. Really, really good today. Well, I kick it off with a question for Ken. What is Code and Circuit and when did it start?
So eCam Live 4.4. No, I'm just kidding. Code and Circuit is a nonprofit computer science classroom that I founded about 10 years ago here in my town. Mm-hmm. And what we do is kids come in after school or in the summer or over breaks to learn about coding, robotics, and other computer science topics like circuitry and things like that. And also during the day, we have homeschool students come in. So it's pretty busy here at Code and Circuit, pretty much with the brightest kids in town learning computer science.
Yeah. And there are robots here all the time. Lori is constantly lifting robots.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
So how long has Code and Circuit been around, Lori?
So I met Ken when he was launching Code and Circuit. So that was, back in 2013. He
Probably.
Launched in 2014, if I remember that. At the time, I was just running my own business, Full Circle Classrooms, and starting a micro school. And I ran into Ken at a local coffee shop, and we started a partnership right away where my students would come in during the day every Friday and engage in things related to computer science. Then fast forward, let's see, after COVID, Ken decided he was ready to hand over the torch. And so let's see, 2021, I started as the executive director of Code and Circuit, and we have just expanded since then.
Yeah, Lori was, like she said, always involved with Code and Circuit right from the beginning. And then she was on my board of directors. And I told the board, right on 2021, was it? I said, I want to hire an executive director. If anybody knows anybody who might be good for this role, I'm going to start looking for somebody to, run the show over there. And Lori texted me right after the meeting, and she was like, I'll do it. And so ever since then, we've really been able to expand what we do here at the classroom beyond just me and volunteers to Lori being the executive director. Not only does it sound cool to have an executive director, it is really cool because this is her area of expertise, is education, and that was a huge part of why I thought she'd be great in this role. And then what was your question? Sorry.
How long did it be rough for? You guys answered the question. Paul has dropped into the comments here that if you want to learn more about Code and Circuit or support Code and Circuit, you can swing over to codeandcircuit.org/support, support-us, I believe it is. But yeah, this is a really great organization because it is giving back to the community, and it is just so incredible to see some of the projects that the kids work on. Lori, I know there have been a ton of new programs in all different kinds of topics over the last couple of years. What are some of the favorite classes you have these days?
Yeah, well, when I started back in 2021, we were a STEM organization with a focus on computer science. And since then, we've expanded to STEAM to include the arts as well. And that's been a great addition to draw in a diverse, student body. And I think another thing that's really helped us grow and reach a larger audience is we started out as just one small classroom. And then when Ken brought me on spring of 2021, we decided to lease a larger space in addition to our original classroom. Then I decided, well, since I work with schools, have worked as an educator for decades, let's expand out into schools and start a robotics in residence program. So the robotics in residence program has been extremely empowering for students when we do visit schools. And then here in our classrooms, boy, our robotics programs have really expanded in the past couple of years. Ken, I'm sure, is going to talk a little bit about First Tech Challenge and that team. I've led a First Lego League, and we've had some amazing instructors and volunteers come in to help out with all of these, whether it's an animation class, whether it's a robotics class. It's been just amazing to grow and bring in more and more students every year.
Yeah, it's really incredible too, the work that you've done, making it really equitable and accessible to everyone as well. So, we're here in Amesbury, Massachusetts, but there's obviously a ton of towns and communities that surround this area, and the act of getting out into the schools and reaching people, I mean, all the way into New York City, you were into
Yes.
at one point, right? To bring like this level of learning out to kids, I think is so hugely important, because it is the future, right? Is that what you envisioned when you first started Code and Circuit? Like, what was the mission behind it originally?
The mission was to teach kids about computer science. I'm someone who is really all about the details. I'm not a big picture thinker, and I just wanted to create something really cool right here in town. Sometimes people ask me, you need to expand this to be some kind of a national chain or something like that. That's never really been my goal. Maybe someday, but I'm always just trying to keep it really fun and interesting, and always have something new for these kids to see. A lot of people know us now for the Boston Dynamics Spot robot that we have here. In about 2021 or something, I thought we need something to like kind of revitalize the Code and Circuit after being shut down for a year, something to get the energy back. And so we're right here in the Boston area, actually pretty close to Boston Dynamics. And so I got in touch with them and tried to find out how you get one of those Spot robots, and decided we would buy one for the classroom, and they were going to ship it to me. And I was trying to save money, so I said, I'll just come and get it. So I just drove down to Boston Dynamics, and we loaded Spot into my trunk, and I drove away, and I said, wait, they didn't even ask me for money.
They were just like, here, take this robot.
I mean, I guess the way they usually do things like is different than that, but we eventually paid. But having the Spot, I thought would just be something that would be cool having around the classroom. And I think that was like early spring. And Lori had the idea that we could bring the robot to schools. Mm-hmm. And so that spring of 2021, we did kind of a test run, and we brought Spot down to the local elementary school. And it was such an incredible hit that the next year, I think Lori was in and out of schools pretty much every day, bringing the robot.
How's your back doing, Lori?
So now,
no comment on the back.
When new kids come here for classes and they see the robot, they go, "Oh, that was at my school." Yeah, I don't think there's a school in the area that hasn't had Spot come for the day and visit and do Lori is doing presentations for everybody with the robot, right, Lori?
Yes. And, I think that was a way where I was able to tie in what I'm passionate about with education, which is educating the whole child and helping them to helping kids understand that every child has a gift. Every child has unique gifts. And through my presentations, I'm able to relate how we as humans started with a base code and how we grow our code, and how Spot's code started with a base code, and how our high school interns and Ken have helped to elevate its code. So, and I think with that program, it's been incredibly rewarding, not only to serve the local schools, but also, as Katie mentioned, to provide equity to access. So we've been into Malden, Haverhill, Lawrence, Dorchester, Boston, providing opportunities for students that may not have had the same exposure to technology, and bringing it to them so that it is possible for them to understand and learn about robotics as well. So it's been exciting to get out and expand Code and Circuit through that lens.
And if you want to hear more about what we're doing with Spot, go to the Boston Dynamics YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And sort by like latest videos and scroll back a little bit. And because they did a really cool case study on our use of the robot and made an incredibly professional video. It's about 3 or 4 minutes long of us, of Lori and I and our students talking about how we use the robot here. And that was just really, really a fun experience to get featured on their YouTube.
I think it's neat, and it must have been, as you were saying, like they just let you take that robot. I feel like it must have been so novel for them as well, because they're in this industry where they're making robots for all these different use cases. None of them being teach kids about robotics, or at least at the time.
Not at that time.
Right.
They're working more and more on it. Problem is it's an expensive robot, and so I feel like by the way we're doing it, where we own the robot and Lori brings it for the day, definitely more cost effective for the schools than trying to figure out how to get their own. So
yeah, I mean, I think it's really neat because these days, kids are growing up certainly much more surrounded by technology than we were as kids, and the ability to get to see it in schools and see how it can be applicable beyond fun, like applicable beyond just like I'm playing a video game, or I'm doing like, yes. how do I build these things? How do I make these things? How do I also be part of a larger community? I think like what you're doing as well with the First Tech program is really neat. Do you want to speak a little bit about that, Ken?
Sure. Yeah. First is a nonprofit started in this area actually, but is now worldwide, where the idea is these robot leagues that compete usually based in a high school or a middle school, to create robots to play a specific game each year. And then there's local competitions, there's state championships and world championships for these robots. They have a number of different leagues, all the way from a Lego league for younger kids to a high school program called First Robotics. But they created a league in the middle called First Tech Challenge, where you're building a slightly smaller, more manageable robot. And those teams are from middle school and high school. Mm-hmm. And last year, we started our first team for that league, our first team. And it has been a really fun experience, working all year on this robot with a really great group of kids, and then actually going and competing. And I don't know if you've ever seen one of these before, but they treat it like a sport. I mean, there's like teams, kind of a sport. I mean, everyone's got their uniforms, and there's referees and coaches, and a very fast-paced competition day and brackets. And I've never experienced anything like it. And for these kids to get to do it every year, and the longer they're on the team, the better they get at this stuff, to the point where our team is new, but I've spoken to coaches in other towns that have been doing it for decades, and they say that their older kids run the whole show, and are so skilled at it by the end of this 6 or 7 year experience that they're like incredibly knowledgeable about robotics and team management and all the things that they do.
The sense of community that goes into it is really like wild. I guess it's something you wouldn't necessarily think of. You know, I'm sure when you were first approaching and thinking about code and circuit, it was like, we're going to teach kids computer science, we're going to teach kids coding. But I think now, I mean, in many ways, because of Lori's educational background and kind of what you're bringing to it, it really is fostering this like sense of leadership and purpose and community and being part of a team and being part of a group. So I love that the first programs at specifically at Code and Circuit are helping the kids develop very different skills than they probably think. Like for them, it's fun, we're building a robot. But there was even one kid who I won't name by name, but she was incredible at, like, she built the entire notebook and planning guide. And for the longest time, just seeing the chats coming back and forth, I completely thought that this child was an adult, like how organized.
One of the coaches.
Yeah, one of the coaches, like how organized she was. But I think so it's not overly often that they get that opportunity.
Yes. And, you know, I think what we're doing way beyond teaching computer science and classes related to STEAM is we're providing youth with opportunities to grow their life skills, soft skills, real world skills that they're going to need later on in life. And, you know, we have the first tech program. We launched a program this year called Future City, which was an engineering challenge. Students we had 5th and 6th graders who were competing against teams across New England. And their goal was to build a model to scale of a futuristic city. In the process, they're having to speak in front of panels of judges. They're having to collaborate. They're having to make difficult decisions, and they're having to manage their time, write an essay. And those types of skills are skills they're going to be able to use later on in life. And when you talk about teams and the bonding, we had a Zero Robotics team 2 summers ago. And through that process, we had students come together and they spent 5 weeks throughout the summer working on coding, learning about NASA, learning about space. And then they eventually worked on code for a satellite on the International Space Station. And that's a program we're going to be able to offer again this summer for the middle school level. And again, it's more than just they're learning how to build a robot or they're learning how to code. It's this opportunity where it's like a family here, and they come here and they're able to connect with others and really collaborate and work on these skills when they don't even realize they're working on them. So it's pretty interesting to watch and see how they mature and see how they take on leadership roles. And on the topic of skills, like some of our classes right now are geared toward Minecraft. We have students who are learning to code in Minecraft. We have students who are guided in collaborative Minecraft builds. And not only are they coding in Minecraft and building in Minecraft, but at the same time, the focus is on the social emotional skills. We're building their emotional quotient, their ability to communicate, navigate, solve conflicts as they game. And gaming is what our kids are engaged in a lot of the time. So providing them with guidance on how they can code and game in a way that is positive, in a way that is kind, in a way that is respectful. It really trickles down even into our classes.
Absolutely. Well, so if you're just joining us right now, or you're catching this later in the replay or out on your favorite podcast player, this episode is part of a week-long event that is hosted by Podcasthon. So we are talking about incredible organizations like Code and Circuit that are giving back to communities. There are likely organizations like this in your own community that you could get involved with, or, you know, be part of. Organizations like this really need all of our help. So if you are listening or watching today and you are able to give back either with your time or with your finances, we would love your support. There is a link in the description, in the show notes, where you can support Code and Circuit. If you're interested in supporting Code and Circuit, we would super appreciate that. We are raising all kinds of funds to be able to support various programs that are happening here that you've been hearing all about. What are some of the new programs or big programs that you're excited about this spring and this summer?
This spring and summer, for certain, we're excited about. Ken's going to be running a rocketry program this summer. We are having students learn how to code drones and build robots, code spot. Lots of really amazing opportunities that we'll have in the spring and then into the summer as well. And what Katie mentioned about our nonprofit, we are a very small nonprofit, and yet we offer scholarships for students. We offer financial assistance for families. Most recently, we have a student who's coming in who is homeless, and through a program in Lawrence, they're going to be coming in and have an opportunity to engage here. And so all of these programs, we try to provide equity to access. And the more we have individuals and organizations who are willing and able to support us, the more we're able to grow our programs and provide for kindergarten through 12th graders here in the area.
Absolutely. It's so hugely important. What are you most excited about this summer, Ken?
This summer? I've never done one of these model rocketry classes. My goal for it is that we're going to do a little bit of rocket science, learn about, the details, the math. Then we're going to get to work designing some model rockets. There might be some 3D printed aspects to it, and then build them, and then potentially do some work around a computerized launcher, which should be really cool. And then we'll go somewhere, I guess, in the summer and launch these things. It's only a 4-day camp, so I've got to keep, I got to be realistic about it. But
time management.
I always
the kids to help you with the time management.
Yeah, I always plan a lot more than we end up doing. But it's going to be, I think it's going to be really fun. And if it works out, we'll keep doing it, as a class.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's been awesome for us here at eCamp because Code and Circuit is just literally down the hall. So we get to hear the robot and see the kids' excitement and be all running around. But it really has raised up a generation of, you've not been doing it for long enough that there are kids who are now, teenagers and young adults that are
graduating from
college that are helping. We have an intern that helps with a bunch of the stuff here at eCamp. So it is amazing the difference that it's making, even just here in our own little mini ecosystem in Amesbury.
Yeah, I mean, if what I love most about what we do here is that you could have someone come in here for I don't know what, for a workshop or something, get inspired, beg their parents to sign them up for classes, spend 5 years, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade here at the classroom, and that could influence their choice of their higher education and their actual career. And, let's say hypothetically that was a family that was, on the poverty line or something. And now you've got a family member with an engineering job. You're lifting people's situation up potentially a lot at that point.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And I think that happens more than people realize with charities like this, that we make a real difference in these kids' trajectories in life. And I've seen kids from here go into computer science, engineering, mechanical engineering, even rocket science. And that's just really cool to see.
Yeah. I think it makes it feel possible for these kids, right? Like even if they're only exposed to it in a visit that Lori does to their school and they're not able to actually get in and participate in the class, like the schools, particularly public schools, don't have the funding or the resources or the, in many cases, even the skill set to be able to offer that to these kids. And it's a huge part of certainly where the world is right now and definitely where the world is going. And so I think it's really great to be able to bring that into as many schools as possible.
Yes. And, when we think about summer, one thing regarding our students who have now moved on and they're in college, watching them grow and mature over the years from, an early teen to graduating from high school, while they're in high school, interning here. We have several that have interned and are now coming back as instructors here at Code and Circuit. And, having that opportunity for high school students to mentor younger students, our college students to mentor high school students and the younger students, is just it's great to see them have that, take on those leadership roles, but also it's preparing them for the future while also serving as role models for our younger students. It's just great to see them come back summer after summer and give. And we have some interns that are here the entire summer volunteering their time. And that the role models that they're being for our younger students, who then say, I want to be an intern.
When can I intern? They're like 10. I'm like,
soon.
Ask me next year.
Yeah. I mean, it's creating a place and a space for them to feel, part of the team, welcomed and fun, and a place where they can go that's, not into stores downtown or wandering around or getting into trouble. So I think it's a great opportunity. Awesome. Well, what have I not asked you that you want to share about with everyone? So again, if you're just joining us, this is the Code and Circuit team. You can learn more about Code and Circuit at codeandcircuit.org. This is a nonprofit organization here in Amesbury, Massachusetts, that's giving back in the world of robotics and coding and computer science and all of those fun tech spaces. What did I miss, Ken?
You didn't ask me what company makes the best microphones.
Yes, I didn't ask you what company makes the best microphones, but we're going to get to that.
That's later.
We're going to get to that later, because right now we're talking Code and Circuit. You got to stay on theme.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Lori, what did I miss?
Gosh, I think we covered a lot of topics. I would just share that thanks to the Amesbury Cultural Council and the Massachusetts Cultural Council, we are offering free workshops this spring in animation for adults. We're also doing some outreach to different communities that we haven't done before. So that's pretty exciting. Yeah. Katie has volunteered to host another podcasting session, which we're super excited about because students get very interested in that.
They care with the mics.
Yeah.
And we're gearing up for our scholarship drive. So looking for donors who are willing to give toward our scholarship drive. And then we do give out scholarships in the spring for seniors who have been a part of our program and are entering into college in a computer science related program.
Yeah. So hopefully Louise can drop our graphic in here so we can share with all of you. But this is our call out to all of you, whether you are watching. I see someone watching all the way from Sweden, or you're here in the US, or you're local here in Amesbury, Massachusetts. We'd love your help. So you can swing on over to codeandcircuit.org. You can scan these QR codes, but we are looking for sponsors in all bytes, kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes, and terabytes. We would really love your support in helping us to spread this word and get more kids through these programs, more adults into these programs. But this is Podcasthon week, so this is a really great opportunity to do that. Well, I think we have gotten to the end of our interview. I saw a couple of questions come through. Doc wanted to know what your first language was, Ken.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, so if you're watching out there and you're wherever in the world or on live or in the replay, and you're thinking, man, oh man, I don't live anywhere near Massachusetts, and but I would like to see if my kid, or maybe you already know, or see if my kid or a kid I know might be interested in learning how to code. There are a lot of great ways that you can get them involved with that just on the internet. So what I always recommend to people is to go, if you have not seen it already, go to Scratch, which started out as an MIT project. They're now their own nonprofit called the Scratch Foundation. But Scratch has been around for 20 years, I think. And it is a website with millions of people using it to code. And that is how a lot of kids I meet are already coding before I even meet them, getting good at coding. This is the best way out there now to learn how to code. And what's cool about Scratch is there's millions and millions and millions of programs that other people have created, other kids have created with pictures and sounds, and whether it's a game or an animation or what. And the great thing about it is you can look at something somebody else made and look inside and see how it works. Nothing is hidden. So you can see exactly how they made it, study it, figure out how it's working, modify it, change it, play around with it. And that is how I got into coding. I didn't have a school in my town teaching it. I had great adults in my life, giving me access to the computer and giving me software. But as far as actually learning the coding, there was a similar tool back then called HyperCard. If there's any real old school Mac people out there, you'll remember HyperCard. It was way ahead of its time. It's actually still nothing like that out there, where you could get programs that other people made and see inside them and see the code and see how they were working and figure it out on your own. Of course, there's a bazillion tutorials out there as well for Scratch. You don't have to figure it out on your own. But that is something that I would recommend if people are looking for something to put their kids in front of, because if you Google it, you're just going to find mountains of companies trying to sell you stuff. Yeah. Scratch is completely free. You don't need to pay for an online thing if you don't want to. You can go to scratch.mit.edu or just Google Scratch and check it out. Make an account, start coding, follow some of their tutorials. That's the best way to get going. George is saying in the comments he remembers HyperCard. HyperCard, how come there's still nothing like that out there? It was amazing.
Shout out to our HyperCard friends.
I wish that somebody would make a good version of that online or something, and maybe modernize it a little bit. That would be amazing. But.
Well, we really appreciate everyone hanging out with us here today, and huge thank you to all of the podcasts across the world that are participating in Podcasthon this week. Make sure that you swing on over and check out some of the other episodes. You can go to podcasthon, thon.org. And again, if you want to learn more about Code and Circuit or ask any additional questions from Ken and Lori, you can find them at codeandcircuit.org. And this show is available every single Tuesday. We record Tuesdays live at 12 p.m. Eastern, and we release our show because of Captivate. Captivate is our podcast host, which makes it really, really easy for us to get our podcast out into everyone's hands. You can find our show at flow.ecam.com or listen or watch wherever you like to listen or watch to podcasts. And as Ken was saying earlier, this episode is actually brought to you by our friends at Shure, which make absolutely incredible microphones that help us to sound our best when we're here on camera in the Ecamm studio. So huge thank you to them. If you're looking for a microphone, literally everything that they make is fantastic, but the ones we tend to like are the Shure SM7B, which is a great microphone for podcasting, or the MV7 Plus is a little bit lower cost. The team here are joining us with the Beta 58s, which we're taking it old school, handheld microphones here in the studio space. But huge thank you to our friends here for making this show possible. And thank you all of you who are joining us in the live studio audience. We really appreciate each and every one of you. And we will see you next Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern here on YouTube. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.